Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies. Grab your favorite bevy, pull up a chair, and enjoy the ride. Hey, B&B fam. This podcast is sponsored to you by BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Is there something getting in the way of your happiness? I know when I traveled the world, I had many days where BetterHelp's worldwide service of licensed professional therapists could have helped me speak to someone no matter where I was in the world about whatever was happening with my life, and with zero judgment. With their ability to match me with a therapist that best fits me, I know my mental health would have been way better back then. Believe me, I needed it. But I'm here to share a way for you to take back control of your mental health by telling you about BetterHelp's awesome services they have for you to talk with a pro about your life through their app or just online. Whether it is a video session or some simple messaging, their team is here to help. I went to check out the app for myself just to see how easy it was to use, and after a series of questions, I was told I would be able to start matching with a therapist in under 48 hours. And what is super rad is that it's affordable and they even offer financial aid too. So come join the 2 million users that have already been helped and gain back control of your mental health by visiting betterhelp.com/backyards for 10% off your first month. Remember, BetterHelp is therapy done securely online. Don't forget to use the special code BACKYARDS and let BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, help you to start living a happier life today. And we're live.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Couches and Bevvies today.
Yes. Front yards and bevvies.
The ever-changing show.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it though. It we're evolving as people, humans, man, woman,
Yes.
wife, husband,
Mom and Dad.
friends. So our show should evolve. It shouldn't stay stagnant and the same, right?
Yeah. Well, and the weather was dictating to us that we needed to be inside today.
Something greater than ourselves was telling
Yes.
us that we are not allowed to be outside. And it's funny, it's not raining right now.
I know, but it's been like storming all day, and now there's
Yeah.
a little mini break. So it's better not to take the risk and be outside if a storm came up, because we're going to get some more.
At one point, I walked outside and I was like, well, I mean, it's not that bad right now. I think we could get away with it. And then it was also really, really humid and everything was
Yeah.
wet. And I was like, since I have to load this in, technically, I'm just going to say...
My pregnant self really appreciates the air conditioning and the comfy couch.
Appreciate?
I am not unhappy.
Well, and that's the whole point is, I have to make my pregnant wife happy.
I appreciate it.
So welcome
Makes
to...
your life easier if I'm happy.
Welcome to Couches and Bevvies. Then.
Welcome.
And, honestly, I think it's kind of cool, though, like we stated just a few seconds ago, it is a part of changing. Things change, things move. Ever since I can remember, I wanted tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted them because they didn't change. It was a kind of a forever statement,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of weird being 18 and choosing a tattoo.
It is.
And then thinking that you're going to enjoy it the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I get asked about them all the time. Like,
Same.
how many do you have?
Yep.
What do they all mean something?
Mm-hmm.
And
Do they hurt? Were they expensive?
Were they expensive? Do they hurt? That's always my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Does it hurt here? They all hurt. They all hurt.
They hurt everywhere.
Yeah.
Some places just hurt worse.
Yeah. Do you use
but they none of them feel good.
Do you use the numbing cream? Were you ever drunk? Were you ever high? I mean, the amount of questions that I've gotten from people, and some good ones too. Like I sat next to a rocket scientist one time, and I didn't know he was a rocket scientist at the time, but he started asking me about I was wearing these remember Reef sandals, and they had like the bottle opener on the bottom. He was like, "Oh, that's really cool that there's a bottle opener on the bottom of your shoe," and I was like, "It's kind of dumb, but kind of cool, I guess." Like I've never opened a bottle with it, and half the time I'm probably stepping in stuff I don't want my bottle top next to. But
very true. That is very true.
So in my opinion, it was it was a fun idea, but
gross, but great in a crunch situation.
And then I asked him what he did. We were sitting in first class, so obviously he did something. He was way older than I, and and he was like, "Oh, I work down in Huntsville. I'm a rocket scientist for NASA." Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think what you do is way cooler than what's on the bottom of my shoe, but cool. I'm glad you enjoy it. And then we talked about tattoos and stuff. But so tattoos have always been something that I think have drawn people to me or away from me, you could say. I mean, I think most people...
both ways.
The people who are drawn away from me are usually people who are, I think, mad at their situation in life. Like, they usually tend to... They wanted to go down my road and be wild and have tattoos, but they chose something else.
Or they were just raised in a different time or by a different family who
surprisingly
don't like tattoos.
Well, true.
There are some people like that one guy who commented on one of our reels not too long ago when he saw my tattoos and was making rude comments about the fact that I was a female that had tattoos, and it was like, all right, dude, move along.
Move it along. Old people tend to like mine, though. Old ladies tend to like mine. They touch my...
you're pretty cute.
They touch my roses all the time on my arms. They're always like, ooh, a rose.
Yeah. My grandmother, when I first got my sleeve before it was filled in, she said that it looked like lace.
Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah, there's something very cool about them. And I wanted to talk about them because as I've gotten older, I actually have covered up some tattoos.
Yes.
And I never thought that I would. I never, ever thought that... Because I used to say, oh, you know what? These were choices that I made that I'm going to live with. Which is a true statement. There's a lot of choices, good and bad, in my life that I've made that I do have to live with.
That's true.
But tattoos, I have the ability to change them. And
some of them. Not all of them can be, but...
Yeah, and there's some that I changed not because... they were technically things that like held me back from anything. They were just parts of my life that I was like, you know what? I think as an adult, I'm just going to change these.
Nothing wrong with that.
But one tattoo I always wanted, and I wanted to talk about this today because, you know, one tattoo growing up I always wanted to do was my hands. I don't know. There's something about it. There's something very like rock star, you know, it's very cool.
And back when you and I first started getting our hands tattooed, it wasn't nearly as popular as it is today. Sorry. It was very taboo at the time. Back then, I remember when I got the sides of my hands tattooed, my mom cried. I felt so bad. But now she likes them. But, you know, they were afraid that doing something like that was really going to hold me back, even working in the music industry, because it was one thing to have visible tattoos. It was something else entirely to go to the extreme of getting your hands and knuckles done.
Yeah. No, sorry. I was adjusting the mic there, so that's why you didn't hear me rebuttal anything or talk to you.
Cool. Just talking.
Yeah, no, there is something to be said, because I think when I started getting tattoos, the show Hart and Huntington had just come out on TV. And I think it was on one of those like channels that it wasn't like ABC or anything like that. So you really had, it was like maybe on MTV. Who knows?
Yeah,
I totally forget what show it was on. But that was like the first glimpse I think the public got at like seeing tattoos other than on like bikers and rock stars and people in the military, people in prison. Yeah, prison would probably be the biggest one. You know, like it was always associated with thugs. And it just happened to be rowdy people always got tattoos, sailors, stuff like that. But these shows started to bring light to it. So when I started to get my first sleeves, I think Miami Ink had really came out. I was living in Orlando at the time, and people were just throwing pieces together, random, like, oh, I want this here and this here. It was very like sailor-ish.
It was like a cohesive.
Yeah, nowadays you see these beautiful designs, and so but I had already had a few before I got to that stage, and so. Like you're saying, like when you started to get visible, that's when people started to like, well, you know, think about the future and think about what you want to do. And we've talked about it before, but I already like had it in my mind that I wanted to race cars, and I didn't really have a future. I just wanted to like randomly do things and then hopefully die at 35 and then be done with it, you know? So to me, all the tattoos in the world were like, who cares? I'm not going to have to answer to anything or anyone, or it's going to be fine. So I'm going to get, and two of the tattoos that I did cover up were these two girls on my chest with giant boobs.
Yes. Well, and one was a devil and one was an angel. And
they were very,
they were definitely, they weren't as bad as they could. They weren't naked. So they weren't as bad as they could have been, but they weren't necessarily appropriate for mixed company or
It was
maybe
always
little nuggets.
it was always brought up when I was at like a pool or something. They're like,
Of
"Oh, wow,
course.
look at those on your chest."
Like, oh.
But who are you really going to tell someone to their face? It's about like 99% of the people would never have said anything bad to me, you know. So
Right.
so it wasn't that big of a deal, and I never really held it like it never. To me, it was not a big deal.
Well, I
Right.
think the good thing was that you weren't told by somebody else
I
to
did it
change
myself.
those.
Yeah.
You just slowly came to the decision, like, you know, I think I'm going to replace these with something else.
And the decision is that I've been asked enough times about my tattoos that I knew that one day my kids would ask about them.
Mm-hmm.
Granted.
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 It's the same thing. You're just
I know. I'm just
not enunciating.
when you hear a word, sometimes you're like, I have to.
Like, did I say that
Did I
right?
say that right? But I started thinking like, oh my gosh, one day, little PK and maybe multiple little PKs,
Mm-hmm.
who knows how many are gonna be out there, are gonna ask me about them.
Mm-hmm.
And why did I get big boobed girls on my chest that don't look like mommy? You know, like,
that's
hey,
a tough question.
it was a
Well,
tough.
I didn't know mommy back then.
But it's a fair question, and it wasn't that I didn't want to answer it. And it wasn't that I didn't want to go about telling him like, well, dad was 18 and his girlfriend at the time was out of town, and the tattoo artist that he talked to really knew how to draw chola girls really well, and you know, he wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about it, and one day I had seen someone post a really cool photo of them and their son, and the son was like laying on their chest, maybe it was their daughter laying on their chest, and I was like, you know, I kind of want that photo, but I don't want that photo with my big breath, like his beautiful little face on my chest,
Little angel face.
yeah, his little angel face next to these like a devil, like, and there's the word they were like squatting down. One was holding a halo between her legs. The other one was
Yeah.
like throwing the devil sign between her legs.
Not super appropriate.
It just started to turn into this like I think if I want that photo in life, roses is a better thing. So I went to Music City Tattoo here in
Yeah.
Nashville, and they were amazing.
We
I've
love
been
them.
I've been getting tattooed by Mike for quite some time now,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of tattoo artists don't like doing cover-ups, but Mike is such a cool, nice guy that he was like, dude, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, and he's been working on my leg for like,
Forever.
oh my gosh, I feel so bad. One day I'm going to get it finished. I promise,
will.
Mike. If you're listening to this, going to Music City Tattoo to get this finished one day.
One day.
But he did. He was like, you know what? I'll cover it up. I got you. You've been coming here. It's not like it's a one and done. So
Right.
I asked him to throw some roses on me, and I
They
covered
look
it up.
great.
They did. They really
They came
did.
out so good.
And it felt good to cover them up.
Mm-hmm.
And my point is about this whole like going down this tattoo and this show being a ever-changing thing is that sometimes things like that you think like you get so stuck and so like, oh, this is why I'm doing this. That I this is my body, and I'm going to let everybody see these naked girls the rest of my life. It would have come into so many like him growing up with a photo on the wall with his little friends coming over, and because that's what I want to hang that photo on the wall somewhere.
Right.
It's like you can do whatever, you can invite people over, but I just didn't want to ever explain like, oh yeah, there was me and my beautiful son,
Right.
and my giant boobed girls on my chest. so that was the first tattoo I covered up, and then you know I went down the path one time of getting an ex's name tattooed on my neck, and I never thought I would cover it up either. And then one day we were in LA, and we had just gone through a bunch of stuff, and I was really trying to change some things about my life, and part of that was just letting the past go.
Yeah.
Removing myself from things that just held me there, and though I never saw it,
Right.
I
Because
never
it was on the
saw
back of your
it. It was
neck.
on the
You
back of
never
my
saw
neck.
it.
No,
Yeah.
I could care less that it was there. I knew other people saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another big one that I covered up. And then, you know, through that, a few others. But I think I'm done covering them up because I really do generally like my tattoos.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
none of them are perfect, which I love too. I can
For
look
sure.
at all of them and see little details. And that's one thing that people always ask me, like, oh, you know, I want to go to someone that's like the best. It's like, well, I don't think they exist.
Yeah.
And the ones that are super, super good, even they probably have little hiccups.
Everybody makes mistakes, for sure.
There is no best. And the guys that I go to, I love them. You know, there's a shop up in New York, Clash City Tattoo. I've been going to him, Baz, for, I don't even know, forever. Since I've gone to New York, I met him. Actually, Paul Simon was the tour that I went there the first time on. And his assistant, we were like in catering, and I was like talking about getting tattooed. And he's like, "Oh, you should go see this guy named Baz down in the Lower East Side."
Love it.
And I was like, "Yeah, Baz." I was like, okay. Never heard of him. Not? Sure. I went and we like hit it off instantly. And I haven't been to New York in a long time, but the last time I was there, he tattooed the back of my head.
Yep. Yes, he did.
And I will definitely finish that one too. So, and so I have a bunch of different awesome tattoo artists that I've been able to go to. And you've gone to a couple with me. So. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike did my collarbone tattoo.
Stay close to the mic. Get a little farther.
Mike did my collarbone tattoo. I know I keep leaning back.
I know.
I'll bring it with me.
Thanks.
Okay,
there you go. Yeah, Mike did your collarbone. And Mike is a great tattoo artist. He didn't do my knuckles, but he did the inside of my palm. So that, like I was talking, I always wanted my hands done. And I always thought that it, like the 4-letter stuff, and I've always had a very, I don't know, infatuation would be not the right term, but I always thought that it looked really, really cool. And I knew that if I could get them done and wear my hoodie and have my hands tattooed, it was always a thing that would show no matter winter, spring.
Very true.
You get a back tattoo, but it doesn't show.
Right.
And I wanted to be showy. And so when I first started this whole journey of tattooing on my hands, I started thinking of 4-letter words that would fit. I was like, And this is where this podcast is going. And this is why I did it, because one of the things that I wanted on there was self-made. I never ended up there with it. And I don't know why. Maybe because I hadn't made anything of myself at the time.
Maybe, yeah. Did you feel like you'd earned that title yet?
I don't think I had yet, yeah. And so, but I got Sink and Swim on there. That was the first one.
It's a good one.
Yeah, Sink and Swim really... It was like almost a mantra at the time, like, all right, I'm either going to go into this business and make it, or I'm going to get into the music business and I am going to drown. And I made it.
You did.
But in that process, I think I had already tattooed my hands like 1,000 times with little things and little trinkets and all the things. So I didn't have any room for self-made. But it always stuck in my head. And I always was like, man, like where could I put that? I could get it in like really cool writing across like my top of my head or on the sides of my head or I always played with that term, self-made. And then just recently though, seeing that I have no places to get any more hand tattoos and stuff like that.
You have very few places to get any more tattoos, period.
I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably
minimal.
I'm probably 85%.
I'd say you're like 85% covered.
85% covered. I mean, because I still have the top of my noggin.
Yeah, and your face. You have to finish your leg, your butt.
Yeah, I don't ever want to get my butt tattooed. It's such a painful place. I've like
my butt tattoo. It was a little painful, but more than anything, it tickled. Like it was really hard for me to hold still on the table. I'm sure it wouldn't feel that way now because the older I get, the more painful the tattoos get.
Well, there's something about it when they did I don't have it tattoo all the way to the crack.
Yeah.
Like I'm on the outside of the butt cheek, but even there, and then I'm pretty low down on my back and I'm pretty high up on my legs. So I have like this nice like square cut out of my butt cheeks. But there's just the little parts that they would touch around the outside. I was like,
nope.
That is super painful. I am not down
Hard
for that.
Pass.
Stay away from my ass cheeks. But yeah, so I was never, and plus like, I don't know, if I was going to get a butt tattoo, I'd want it to say something funny.
Yeah.
Like I don't need like a beautiful mosaic on my butt. So maybe one day I'll get something funny like your name. That's always like been in the back of my mind. Get a little cursive your name. Hey, it's a great way to win a bet at a bar.
That's
I have
true.
Your name tattooed on
your name.
But you have to start with, you have to figure out what their name is first, and then get a little conversation started, and then be like, you know what? There's a funny thing. I have your name tattooed on my butt. And most people would be like, oh yeah, you got your name, but you might win one every once in a while.
Maybe.
Yeah, I have the bottom, or I don't have the bottom of my feet done, but I have the top of my feet done.
Your feet?
Feet.
Feet is the plural.
Oh, I know, but I like to say feet. Like I like to go get my hairs cut.
Your hair's cut.
I don't like to go get one haircut. I like to get multiple
all
hairs
the hairs cut.
But yeah, so and then obviously I still have one palm that I want to get done.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to do the little knuckles on my toes, but I don't think I can handle that kind of pain.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be brutal.
Because I have the tattoos that are on my feet go down to my toes, and it was pretty brutal.
Pretty brutal. I bet.
Pretty not fun. But yeah, so like I'm like 85% covered. So there's not a lot of places that I really have big room. So the rest of my tattoos for the rest of my life are going to be little ones.
Yeah.
Words. Maybe
dates.
I don't know. I've played on that, but so self-made though.
Yeah.
It's always been there. Even to this day, I still see people with it. I'm like, dang, that's a cool tattoo. It is a cool tattoo.
It is.
But I don't think I can do it anymore.
Because?
Well, I started really thinking about the last 2 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Really, up until the world shut down,
mm-hmm.
I always really put everything on me. Like, oh, I did this. I got myself here. I did all of these things. I never really gave credit to all the people around me. And I think that was that now that I think of self-made, I'm not self-made because it did take a lot of people to get me here, even though I might not see it that way. And so I think it would be almost a disservice if I put self-made on me and advertised it that way.
I can see that. Now,
this is nothing towards anyone else because someone else's opinion of self-made that's their opinion.
Yeah, but your opinion has evolved.
But my opinion
of what that means.
Of what it is, yeah. And so I wanted to replace the idea with self-motivated.
Okay.
Only because I think that in my mindset right now, I am self-motivated. I am the only one that can truly get me up in the morning, and I'm the only one that can truly get me to push through the day.
Yeah.
You might be able to say, hey, you got to go do this, or you have to get up.
I may be able to help, but you still have to find the motivation to do it.
But I have to set that motivation. And I have to set that motivation either at a high or low. Because in reality, every day that you wake up, whether you believe in God or not, you woke up.
Yeah. Blessings.
It is. And that's, I think, the first start to your day is the fact that you could have gone to sleep last night and not woken up.
Yeah.
So when you wake up, it's like, boom, okay. I went to bed, yeah, sure. But I also have the chance at life. And so, I don't know, there's so many things at play here. So, like I'm still working through all of these ideas, which is why it's fun to say that we're growing. The show is growing. The show is always evolving. We're in a different place today.
Yeah.
Well, so mentally, I'm in a different place today.
Yeah.
And I think that is the tone of this entire thing that we're doing with the show and with talking through ideas. And this idea has been on my brain now for a few weeks, probably actually a couple months, to be honest now. And I've wanted to talk about it because I think that tattoos have always been a big part of my life. And those 8 letters have been a big part of who I used to think I only was.
Yeah.
But not so much anymore. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today.
I like it.
Yeah. So, and I've pitched it to you too. And, the group that I'm a part of, the Knights of Columbus, like the whole premise of that organization is to help. We help the homeless by feeding
those
them
that are less fortunate.
Yeah, we help the community by cleaning up. Like there's so many things that we do. Food drives, and then we raise money for the school, for the church. A lot of actually it goes to helping tuition get paid.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So
well, good because we're gonna need it.
I don't know if we'll get paid for it, but one of the things inside of there is like. I'm always like trying to better myself, and I know that I can't just better myself without someone else helping me. And so so again, like pushing myself to do different things and pushing myself to grow in different ways. And so I kept thinking, like, man, it is still really a cool tattoo.
Definitely.
I don't think I can get it anymore.
Yeah.
I think I've finally oust that tattoo for me. So now I want to get self-motivated tattooed on me. But
which is even longer.
But
so you need even more space that you don't have.
But you can't get self-motivated tattooed on you because it's well,
you could, but maybe like down the side of your leg or something like that.
But that's my point, though, is that self-made is it. I get it, though.
Mm-hmm.
It is a cool tattoo. It is a really, really cool tattoo. But like I was about ready to say, one of the things that we've talked about is I kind of want to get into telling my story to the youth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because I want to like tell them like don't go out and do whatever it is you want to do, but there is consequences to a lot of the stuff that I did. You know, like I burned a lot of bridges with people. I've hurt a lot of feelings. I've put people in really bad positions because of my actions.
Right.
And I would love to tell people about that. You know, there's way better ways. I was always scared of getting in relationships. I was always scared to, you know,
open up and be honest and
be truthful because I always knew that it was going to hurt.
Yeah.
So I would love to be able to go and do that. And part of that is self-motivation for me to go and tell my story.
For sure.
But I can't do it alone. So that's where I started playing on these two words with you, you know, probably a month ago or so now. And you were like, I get it, but I don't really get it. And maybe the listeners that are listening are like, this idiot.
No, it totally makes sense. I mean, at first when you were talking about it, I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I can see it from both sides, but I think for your journey specifically, I understand really why it applies because you went from being on purpose a loner, even though you loved attention.
Yeah.
But it was very important to you and it made you feel a certain way about yourself that, well, I did this by myself.
Yeah.
I became this successful roadie and can name drop all these names and do all these things because of me. And not because I relied on anybody else and I didn't go home to anybody. I don't need to be tied down in any way to any other person. I can just do what I want, when I want, anywhere I want.
Yep.
On my own.
To whoever I want.
Yeah. And then you evolved really over the past 2 years, like you said, from being that type of person to being the type of person who, A, recognizes and appreciates a higher power and everything that has been gifted to you because of that.
Yeah.
Number one. And then after that really opened you up to being more involved with other people.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And I think that part of my journey too is to not sit here and push my journey on someone. It's just to tell someone my journey.
Right.
And I think that to me is that alone has been really cool because I've been able to share my journey with a few people and then be like, oh.
Well, you never know what little nuggets of wisdom you have in there that are going to impact somebody else.
And I do think that my life is full of lived experiences that I can share with people that are true lived experiences that are, let me tell you about this bad tattoo, or let me tell you about this experience I had getting this tattoo in this city, or let me, you know, because since we're on the subject of tattoos, I'm just going to use them as examples. But that is the point, though, is that I look back on it now, and though they were selfish times in my life, I was still getting helped by people. I was still getting, you know, lifted up by people. I can think back to my grandma, you know, like
for sure,
probably my biggest fan ever. You know, she always, no matter what I did, even if it was bad, she'd be like, well, just try harder next time.
Yeah.
You know, she would let me come stay at her house when no one else was around, and I would like have burned all the other bridges, and she'd be like, just come sleep in my spare bedroom. And
no.
She was always like super, super me. I remember one time she was like, just please don't ever tattoo your neck. What did I go do? I went tattooed my neck. But she loved it though. You know, but that's the thing though, is that she would find love in anything I did. And it was weird to me. And even then I pushed it away at times because I wanted it to be done by myself. And I can look back on her bailing me out with money and stuff like this. And so now looking back, I'm like, man, there's no way I could get that tattoo because to me, I would be lying to myself about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, the point.
You wouldn't feel authentic.
I wouldn't feel authentic.
Yeah.
And now all I want to do is try to tell nothing but the truth to as close of a T as I possibly can.
Right.
You know, like there's clearly times in my life where I'm seeing it differently because of whatever I was on or wherever I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So my perspective of that night might be a little bit different than someone else's.
It may not be the factual truth, but as far as you're aware, it is.
In my eyes,
As far
some of
as
the
you
stories
know.
that I can remember, they went this way.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think it's really cool, though, that people have built businesses and have made themselves, in a way, self-made. And I look at that and I'm like, that is a really, really cool, awesome thing. But even then, someone there backed you.
Mm-hmm.
Your fans, your supporters, the one guy that bought your first whatever book.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever that person is, they supported what you were doing, which then catapulted or was the catalyst to your success.
Yeah.
And to me, yes, you mentioned like the fact that I started going back to church and all this stuff. Not everybody has that journey. So to me, even if I had the nothing, like I said, at least I woke up every day to life.
Yeah.
So that's something.
Absolutely.
And I was given life. So from the start of there's one person, and let's just call him God, that gave me something. So that was my only like thing. And some people don't believe in that. So they can't use that as their one thing.
Right.
But they could probably look back in their life and have that one person or that one friend that stood next to them. So I'm not saying to not go get self-made tattooed on you.
Right.
I'm just saying that
it's just an interesting conversation to have, especially for your personal experience.
It is.
Around
and that's all that this is.
The changes.
Yeah. I thought it was a fun conversation because, you know, you and me laugh about this, you know, in private about me waking up at 4:30 in the morning and you're like, I am not feeling it today. Or maybe tomorrow I'll do it. And then I'll be like, okay. And it's not because I'm like trying to dog you I mean, you're clearly pregnant and you're going through something.
She is like rolling around and punching me right now. She's going wild.
Yeah, I can tell you're getting further and further away from the mic again.
Am I? Well, I wonder, random segue. I wonder if, because she does seem to move a lot when we
hears
are
my voices.
Recording. Well, she definitely hears us. She's been able to hear us for a few months now because their ears are one of like the first things that end up developing. But I wonder if because of using like the microphones and stuff like that, if, I don't know, it magnifies it for her at all, or
I don't know. Interesting.
She seems to move around a lot when we're doing this.
You think our kids are gonna have tattoos?
I mean, I think it'd be cool if they did because I want them to look like us, but who knows? If they want them, great. If they don't want them, great. It's their journey. It's their prerogative to figure it out.
I think tattoos are really cool. I always have. From the time I was like, I can look back and being in like probably 4th grade, I started to poke myself with needles, and I would try to.
That's just weird.
Push ink in there to see if I could like.
Oh my goodness gracious, you
but
weirdo!
I drew on myself. I like always wanted tattoos, and then I remember Anil's dad had the marine globe. It just looked like a blob.
The eagle globe and anchor. Yeah.
Just looked like a blob by the time that I met him. But to this day, I think right now it probably looks like a giant black blob. But, you know, it was an eagle on a globe. But I've always wanted them. And I always wanted the you know, like I said, the knuckle. I actually have, if you're not watching, I have Sink Swim, Hope Love, in little letters. Hardcore.
And that's how your little tiny knuckles.
On the tiny knuckles closest to the fingernails. That one was a fun one because
looks like it would hurt there.
It hurt so bad. We were in New York and we were playing a show that night, and a couple guys wanted to go get hoodies down at Baz's old tattoo shop. And we walked in, and I think I had already gotten a tattoo the day before.
Oh my goodness.
So Baz was like, "Whoa, how are you gonna come to my shop and not get a tattoo?" And I was like, I don't really have time. He's like, you always have time for a tattoo.
Even just a little guy.
And I said, what do I want? What do I want? I was like, I've always wanted to get my knuckles tattooed. But I was like, can you do them in like little letters, like hardcore? So when people see it, it's
like lowercase letters.
Yeah, like a little kid drew it too.
I imagine like Mickey Mouse saying like hardcore.
Exactly. So it's always been a running joke. He's
cute.
He's redone them a few times because they just for when I chew on my I used to really used to really beat my cuticles up, but now. Well, and then work, all that.
Yeah.
And then on the inside, I got live once tattooed twice.
Wow.
Which it fell out each time. And then I got road life tattooed in there, which is now almost completely fallen out. So that was kind of where I used to always look and be like, okay, well, I guess I could get self-made because I can make a lot of the same letters out of those.
True.
But then it started to play in my brain like, well, especially in the last 2 years, I was like, well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not self-made. And I think that I keep going back to the fact, like, I know a handful of people who have it tattooed on there. And if they're listening to this, like, this isn't a slight at you by any means, but I just personally now can't get it.
Yeah, it's just how you feel about it.
Because in my brain, I keep thinking, like, dang, all I am is self-motivated. And I'm probably one of the most self-motivating people in the world.
Extremely.
Like, if I want to do something, I am going to do it. I'm going to figure it out. And I think that that's one of the coolest things that I've ever given myself credit for, though. Yeah.
You are by far the most self-motivated person I've ever met.
Like, if I'm going to lose 5 pounds, I will lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Now.
You're driven.
If I don't give myself a date, though, that 5 pounds might take a year.
Right. You're like 10 years later, well, I lost 5 pounds.
I
didn't say when.
Yeah, I didn't tell you
when. But I did lose
But if I write it down, though, I will do it.
You will.
And you have been a witness to it many, many times.
I have.
But a big part of it, though, is like I wanted to lose weight recently.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that you're my sugar mama.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, do I go to the gym or do I just get something that I do here? And you were like, well, I'll get you a rower.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you, I was like, if you get me a rower, I will use it every day.
And you have used it every day?
Almost every day. There's been a couple days.
Like 2. Literally a couple.
I know we're going on a tangent away from this, but here's another fun fact that I just told you the other day. I have rode without a straight line either. This is if I was to follow Google Maps, I have rode from Nashville to Wilmington, North Carolina, and back.
It's insane.
In, I think... you
started in January, I think? Mm-hmm. So in 7 months?
7 months. It was a long 7 months.
Crazy.
I saw a lot. Now, that's no elevation and all that. Like, that would have killed.
Whatever. The amount of miles. How many miles? It's like 1,200 something miles? 1,300 miles?
1,300 miles. I think I'm almost at like 1,400 miles now.
Insane.
Yeah.
I have not.
So I'm I'm self-motivated, though. I am truly self-motivated. And I am someone who's willing to let people help me. I just never realized that.
Mm-hmm.
I never, ever put myself in that position to see the love that was given to me by so many people around me.
Well, you had to learn that being helped by others and loved by others doesn't mean you're vulnerable or weak.
Yeah. Well, when we did the 4-part series, I thanked a lot of people that gave me, giant helping hands in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously, like my dad, he took a giant chunk of his money and paid for me to go through school. My grandma, it's like that to me was like, okay, maybe I have been helped a little bit.
100%. 100%.
And I still get help today, like on this project that we're doing. And soon we shall be telling people about it, which is crazy because over 2 years ago, I started this thing and I really was like terrified. I was like, how do I even do this? And through this process from you to, and I can't name right now because it would just ruin it, but I can think of like 5 people who have taken the time to look at it and give some great feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback to the point where it's like, wow, thank you so much because this is a game changer.
100%.
If I would have never had that, we would have never had the meeting a few weeks ago that potentially could change the trajectory of our life forever.
Yeah.
And our kids' life. I mean, this could be something that, to me, you took the chance, which to me, that was the biggest. I mean, you are right now the biggest next to, obviously a few other people, but they were in the past or they're gone now. But you are the only person right now that is truly my biggest fan, that every day we wake up and we talk and I'm like, okay, I need you to do this with me. And you're like, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. We're a team.
And that right there alone speaks volumes to the fact that you have that much faith in what I'm doing.
I do.
Well, you let me be a stay-at-home dad.
I love it.
You do this podcast with me.
Yeah.
So for me to sit there and go down the street to Music City Tattoo and get self-made on me would be a little bit of a kind of a slap to you.
That's true. It would.
Now, you would never look at it that way.
No.
And you would never be like, you would just be like, okay, it's just a tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
But
you're right.
But those are one of those things, though, that to me it's important. Look, the sun's out now.
Of course it is.
But to me, that's one of those things that would always dig in the back of my mind, because now that it's in my brain, I know that every day that I wake up and I look around, I have hundreds of people that help us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hundreds of people sign up to download this podcast now.
So cool.
Which is crazy, which is amazing, though, because
we're at almost 10,000 downloads.
I know, right?
Crazy.
And that's why it was important for me to talk about this, because there are so many things in my life that are positive that if there is a negative, I can work through it.
Yeah.
The gifts that have been given to me in my eyes through God are people like you. People like your mom is a giant supporter of this show. Is. I mean, she's probably the second biggest fan.
100%. But number 2.
So with your 2 downloads a week, I actually have a really fun TikTok I'm going to do in the next couple of weeks that maybe I'll do for this part that would be like reality versus Instagram.
I like it.
But I'm not self-made. And I'm going to keep harboring on this. And I think that this is something that I can take to kids in school and really help people, or really help someone that's going through a hard time, and to show them that it's like, it's okay to get a handout. Like, no one's going to look at your business 20 years from now or whatever you're doing and be like, Jim Bob Joe over there got a helping hand from freaking Billy
Joe
Bob.
Bob Jim.
Joe Bob Jim. Like, no one's going to look at that and be like, how dare him?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want help from other people?
But think about all the silent investors that, think about these giant companies who have silent investors.
Yeah.
They're getting helping hands. It's okay to be helped.
Yeah.
And that's why I think
it's good to help others.
And then the return.
Yeah.
Like, my return to the community is going to the nights twice a month. And some months we help more, months we don't help as much as we possibly can. But the point is that we're going out trying to help and trying to give back.
Yeah.
And I think that's that whole life. That is that circle of life that Simba was talking about on The Lion King. It's part of the day that you wake up and you see that mom struggling to get her baby and her shopping all in her car, and her cart's rolling away from her. And you do the right thing. Instead of just standing there, you go and you grab the cart and you help her. And you know, like, that right there is those little not self-made moments.
Right.
Those are those self-motivated moments that you just changed her day and helped her. And so that's why, like, I keep harboring on this, but or harping on it.
Harping,
but,
yeah.
Harboring. I'm harboring.
No, harping.
Harping. On it. I think that it's a really cool thing, though.
I do. I agree.
But I'm not saying don't go and get self-made tattooed on you.
Right.
But if you do, just, like, give props to whoever helped you get that tattoo.
Yeah, 100%. If you don't tattoo it on yourself.
Yeah. If you're not tattooing self-made on yourself, then you are not self-made. I am sure someone will write this and be like, I cannot believe you. But look, I am heavily...
All we're saying is that this has worked for me. You. This is your journey.
This is my journey.
Your journey.
But that's the beautiful thing about this. Like, someone wrote on another hate. Okay, sorry, I'm like stumbling over my words. It's not like I was rewinding myself. So right now, we do not get a lot of like hate online. Like,
there aren't a lot of trolls yet.
Very rarely.
I appreciate it.
Every once in a while we get some, yak jaw yokel that wants to like look cool or something, maybe to his internet friends.
Or I'll never forget the person.
Or to his mom that's upstairs and, bringing him Cheetos. He's like, Mom, look what I wrote to these people. I got them good. And she's like, yeah, son, you did get them good.
You.
Here, let me roll you over to your bathroom. But we got someone the other day that wrote something, like, oh, here's another people who think they're famous, just trashing or putting more trash on the internet or whatever. It's like, this is the funnest thing I've ever done in my life. And it's so cool because I get to work out ideas with you. And then I get to work them out. And if someone listens and they're like, hey, I get it. Like someone wrote not too long ago about, he was like, I want to rob a bank too.
Yeah.
But the conversation went so much deeper after that. But that was the start to our conversation. And I thought that it was really cool that he chimed in that way.
It's cool
but
to find a common thread with a stranger through something like this.
So, again, this isn't that I'm telling you to go out right now and change your life and do all these things. It's just, it's a different perspective when you wake up every morning and you start to be like, one thing I never was very thankful for what was around me. I always wanted more. The grass was always going to be greener somewhere else. So to wake up every morning and just be thankful right away that I was like, I woke up, it changes my perspective.
For sure.
Hands down. That is like the number one thing that has changed my day right there is by waking up and being thankful for what I have.
Gratitude
right
is
that
everything.
Second. Then after that, I look around and I'm like, wow, we really do have a lot of like cool people in our lives that help us out all the time and do really cool things for us. And so by no means can I say that any of this was just me.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I have you, you like do a bunch of cool stuff for me every day.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, like, sometimes you make chicken nuggets.
No, you made the chicken nuggets today. They were delicious. So good.
Like in short, tattoos will always be a giant part of my life. And they'll always be something that's really cool to me. And I do enjoy seeing people get really cool tattoos and I think words will always be my favorite kinds of tattoos. There's something very gangster about it.
Yeah.
Like Tupac's Thug Life across his stomach.
Yeah. It's intense.
That's up there in some of my favorite tattoos.
Yeah,
when I think of
sick.
like,
it did.
I can just picture being a young kid and seeing that and just being like, that is thug life.
And on your stomach too, man. That is a painful place.
Oof, I got my stomach tattooed by Baz.
I remember.
In New York on a day off. I've had everything from my chest, like sternum down, tattooed in New York on days off, and then had to go into the garden and work the next day.
You are a glutton for punishment.
I was a glutton for pain.
Yeah. More power to you.
Oh, I can think about Baz was always funny. Like I could feel him sometimes push just to, like I would be like breathing a little hard and like my stomach would go up and he would push it, like not on purpose sometimes, but like he would accidentally just push in a little harder because I would be like, oh gosh, because he starred and dotted my entire stomach and stuff. I'd rather just get a full tattoo than stars and dots ever again.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, those are not the funnest thing to get in the world.
Yeah, I haven't really done anything that's like minimal like that.
What's your favorite tattoo?
On you or on me?
On you.
It's a good question. I mean, I really love my collarbone tattoo just because it's a phrase that, gosh, I think I first heard the phrase during my first internship at Columbia Records. So I was like 21 and was like really working hard on trying to figure out how to work in the music industry and stuff. And music has always been my passion. So my collarbone says, where words fail, music speaks. And I like the theory that music is a universal language. There's no language barriers when it comes to that because you can always like feel the music. So that's definitely one of my favorites.
It's a true thing. I've seen people in countries that speak very little English. Most countries speak a little bit of English, around the world. And I've had the privilege of seeing people sing full-on songs.
Yeah.
That, you're like, whoa, I was out last night and I didn't hear much English. And these people are singing every word, lyric to the song.
Yeah. I would say that's probably my favorite because of just the meaning behind it. And then I also really love the little anchor I have on my ring finger that I got with you in LA, because anchors are one of our personal little things, and you have an anchor on your same ring finger.
I am going to get an anchor tattooed on my face one day.
Okay, we'll see about that.
I am. Okay. It'll be light. It won't be a thick one.
Okay. To be discussed.
We're discussing it right now. Live on air.
Yeah, okay.
I do like the little anchor. It does add.
Cute. Okay.
And the words they are very cool, especially for you, because you really do, a lot of your life is music. So way more than mine ever was. So I do understand your tattoo for sure. Well, cool.
I have more I plan to get done one day if I'm ever not pregnant again.
Can you not give them when you're pregnant?
I don't think so. I don't think you're supposed to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for tuning in today.
Yeah. Fun episode.
We'll
see you guys soon.
It was cool. I will say it was one of those moments where there is more to be said to this, I think, and I've been writing a lot of stuff down over the last 2 years, which I think to me has been a big part to this journey, because I've forced myself to explain myself. I'm not just living internally. I'm writing it down and trying to really work through why I am here in this position today. And so I think a lot of that was, being thankful for a lot of the people that have put me in this place today. And even the people that do not like me, they helped me get to this point, because without them and without me looking back on some of the things that I did to people, I wouldn't be able to change. And I think that was a crazy part of my life, was realizing just how dark I could go.
Yeah.
That was the big one. So this has really been something very cool to me that I've been holding on to. So I'm glad that I got to talk about it. I think there's still more to it. I think that this was just the surface. And it's not about the self-made tattoo, really. It's more about expressing more the self-motivation inside each other.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it really boils down to you driving internally something deeper than just money or just power or just something that is will go away, because they'll all come back. I've lost stuff before, and it'll return. But it's that if you don't have that self-motivation and know that it will return, then I think life gets a little harder. Yeah. Because then you start to sacrifice moments in time to relive he used to be like this, or he used to be like that, or this person did this. But if you suck it up and you're well, looks like I have to go restart it all. Yeah. Then that self-motivation deep inside of you will...
And you're bound to learn new things through that process.
And an ever-changing, ever-evolving world, which I think describes this podcast. Yeah. I mean, here we are, sitting on a couch. We've had this scene one other time when we had Tom on the show.
Yeah, but y'all didn't sit on the couch. You sat on the bar stools.
Yeah, I moved everything.
I know.
We could have just sat on the couch.
Yeah. That was back in the early days.
We were learning.
Yeah. It was 40 episodes ago.
Well, what's funny is I thought that we had to have certain things. We have to have the cooler has to be in the shot, or the bar stools have to be. It's certain things. But that's growing up, I think. Yeah. And so when I look back on those two fat chicks that were on my chest, they were fun for a while.
Yeah, and now your roses are beautiful.
But now my roses look way cooler. And I got the shot of the kid on my chest.
Yes, you
probably
did.
Should redo that.
No, it was real cute.
It was a cute one.
And you'll get to do it again with our little girl when she's born.
Yeah, we'll just have a whole wall of
all the kiddos tattoos on your chest.
Well, we thank you all for tuning in like we always do. And we appreciate you looking at our couch in our front yard. Mm-hmm. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Of course, it didn't rain, so we're probably going to end this show and it's going to downpour as we venture out into
it's
this
looking a little cloudy again,
lovely world. But
yeah.
And if you weren't, watching this and you didn't see the reflection, our favorite movie was playing in the background.
Yes, it was.
Blended.
Such a great movie.
If you haven't watched Blended, go watch Blended.
Another Adam Sandler classic.
Where he's dressed in gym shorts.
Yeah,
and,
always in a t-shirt.
In a t-shirt.
Just
My
like
favorite.
you want.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank you all so much for tuning in.
Have a wonderful week.
We do have some cool news. And I probably should have stated this at the beginning, but we're going to start stating this more and more. If you've made it this far, check out our new Liquid IV sponsorship.
Yep. We'll fill you in more on that next time.
Yeah, we will. But just wanted to get that out there. Part of the fam now.
Yeah. Love it. We love them.
All right. We thank you all so much. Make sure to subscribe.
Like,
download,
do all the things,
share, write us,
yes,
email us,
sure.
You can smoke signal us.
We won't know how to interpret it, but don't start any fires. We don't want you to do that.
Okay, no smokes.
Yeah.
What about what's the
Morse code?
The telegram.
Yeah, Morse code.
Morse code.
Yes.
Yeah. Morse
all
code.
right. We'll see you guys soon. Yeah. Have a wonderful week. Phil's going to go off on another tangent of how you can communicate with us.
I'm thinking.
I know.
I'm trying to think.
We're going to go now.
You can whale talk us.
Stop it. Okay.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Cheers. Bottoms up.